Welcome back, y'all. Today we are installing these 3-inch aluminum blocks in the rear of this old girl here. For the front, we're just going to loosen up the torsion bolts there, give it a little bit of a drop. Got this 1990 Nissan as a daily, just something to keep the miles off the Toyota. The reason I'm lowering it is it's pretty cheap. It's not hard to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, if it was expensive or, you know, labor consuming, I probably wouldn't mess with it. But just as simple as it is, we're gonna go ahead and get it done. I took some before measurements of the heights on all 4 corners. When we're done, I'll measure it again and we'll do a before and after. Let's get to it. All right, we got the rear end up in the air. We shot our U-bolt nuts with some PB blaster. While we're waiting on that to kick in, we're gonna use the 14mm socket and remove the bump stops. Bump stops removed. We're gonna use the 19mm to loosen up the U-bolts. We got the U-bolt nuts released, so the shock is now just hanging loose. We're gonna pull the actual U-bolts out of here. Get these out of the way. So we're looking pretty good. What we'll do right now is we'll jack up this side of the axle to create that separation between the axle and the leaf, and then we'll just slide our block in and put it back together. Our bottle jack got the axle up just enough so that we can squeeze this block in between the two. This little knob here at the bottom is going to rest on the top of that bolt right there. So we'll plop it into position and then we'll slowly lower it back down. Throw our bolts back on and bolt it back up. In case you were wondering, this is the size difference between the original and the extended U-bolts. We got the driver and passenger blocks positioned. I will say that was a little bit tricky to do by yourself because what happened is I would get, let's say, the driver's side locked into position and the passenger side was like way out of alignment. So then I'd try and raise up the jack and get that side, but then this side would pop out. So a little bit of back and forth, just trying to get the right angle so everything, you know, snaps into place. We want to make sure that it's sitting on that knob, but everything seems to be positioned correctly. So now we can take our big old U-bolts and we will get this guy tightened up. The rear is done. We're gonna put the wheels back on and bring it back to the ground. Now it's time to lower the front a little bit. What we're looking for is this, I think they call it a torsion bar here. There are 2 nuts on this threaded end here. We're first gonna spray a little, you know, PB blaster or something like that, just clean it up real good. And then we're gonna back off this first one. And then we're slowly going to back off the second one. It might be a little bit of trial and error to get the right height that we want. But we're just going to go ahead and back it off a little bit, and then we'll drive it around for a day or two, let it settle, and see what we think. Well, we got her all wrapped up. She's on the road. Lowered Nissan Hardbody. first test drive in the lowered hardbody. I'll tell you what, she was never a real pleasure on the suspension to begin with. But I would not want to hit a pothole in this thing. Just pretty stiff, pretty rattly if you do hit something. But man, I'll tell you what, no rubbing, no clicking, nothing like that. It seems to be going just fine. I want to get a few miles in just to make sure nothing's gonna, kind of, pop out of alignment. But it seems to be going good so far. As promised, here are the before and after specs. I guess it's set up a little bit weird, but on the outside, the four corners, this was the before measurements. So up on the front end, 29 16ths, 29 and a half. In the rear, 30, 29 7/8. After the blocks in the rear and adjusting the front end, 26 and a quarter, 26 3/8, 27 and a quarter, 27. So you can see that the 3-inch blocks weren't quite 3-inch, just a touch less, but I imagine over time this might actually settle in a little bit more. So hopefully you can see that okay. But it was about probably 2 3/4 inch drop, give or take, front and rear. Here's how she's sitting. Looks to be about 3/4 inch, maybe an inch gap in the front. Looks to be about 2 inches in the rear, maybe 2 1/4. I want a little bit of positive rake. The front might be just a smidge lower than what I would like. I might bump that up just a hair. But overall, pretty impressed. Another view from this angle. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I know the video wasn't super in-depth, but I mean, man, there's a ton of great videos on YouTube if you need more detail. I just wanted to document what I did and how my setup turned out. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.